Hey, know-it-alls, it's Padre. I'm here with the second set of cyber steampunk goggles. I gave the first one to Brian, so I'm going to go ahead and make another one, which we're going to be using for the second segment of Project Steampunk. I'm going to guide you through this pretty much in real time. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I do, along with I got a couple screens. I kind of multitask when I'm doing this. I've already pre-soldered and tinned my wires. So here's the power connector. The power connector's already got its 30 gauge leads on it, so it's ready to go. And these are the 8-inch leads. So these are the ones that are going to go across the bridge. Again, they've already been stripped and tinned. And then these are the 6-inch leads. These are the ones that are going to go to the Arduino from the LED ring in the right cup. That's going to complete the daisy chain. Now remember, we're doing something weird here. This is not a straight through and through where data and power are all coming from one side of the goggles. So the Arduino is going to be in the right cup. So power needs to go to the Arduino from the left cup where the battery will be installed, but data needs to go from the Arduino to the right cup to the left cup. So power is going to go from left cup to left ring to right ring to Arduino, and data is going to go from Arduino to right cup to left cup. That's why we've also added these. So I got an additional length of wire here, black, red, and blue. I'm going to be adding a little potentiometer. You see it here in the test mounting. It's going to allow me to change values of the goggles without having to use a phone. I've got a wireless project coming up, but I decided to make that a separate project. We're going to go old school here, use an analog input. So that being said, let's get to it. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to be working with our 8-inch leads. We want our 8-inch leads through the heat shrink tubing. I cut it's about an inch length of black heat shrink tubing. What this is going to do is it's going to go ahead and it's going to, let's see if that focuses. It's going to hide my wires across the nose strap, the bridge strap. Now, as you see, I've already separated my goggles simply by pulling the strap out from the right cup. And that's just so that I can work with it easier. I've also pre-drilled the holes. I used a small Dremel spear bit to drill rat holes in my mountings. You can see it there and there. That's what's going to allow me to run my silicone wires into the housings. So let's go ahead and start off with the left side because I want to get the power done first, because I'm going to be bringing that back over. Now, what I will do, let's do this. There we go. That's left. That's right. I'm going to go ahead and run the heat shrink tubing over the strap, keeping the wires on the back side. What that does is it gives me a nice, neat assembly so that the wires will be hidden from the front when we're done with the goggles. Now I'm going to pull my 3 wires into the rat hole on the left cup. And I've really got all of the slack because I don't have anything connected to the right cup yet. So there we go. All right. So now that's what I've got. I've got the wires are through the heat shrink, which is attached to the bridge, which will go around the side here into the rat hole. Now, I'm not worried about these wires because what's going to happen is I'm eventually going to have the housing, the 3D printed housing, and that's going to hide the wires. I've also got a glue gun in case I want to strap them down a little bit. I don't think I'll need it, but yeah. One of the things that I've noticed when I was teaching some students how to make these, be sure that you're always soldering to the rings on the inside of the ring. If you solder on the wrong side, well, you have to desolder it. All right, let's go ahead and look at our rings. These are our 16-bit, so 16 LED WS2812 rings. Now, these are unique. Use the link that we have because some of these only have 4 pads. They have ground, they have power, they have in, and they have out. This has all 6 pads, so in, out, and then in, out, ground, and power. You want that just so that it makes it a little easier for you to solder. You could solder them both to one pad for the daisy chain, but I prefer this. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and prepare our pads. Let me go ahead and zoom in here so you can see what I'm doing. This is really, really simple. It's much easier for me to do the soldering now than to try to do it later and adding in little bits and pieces of solder. Ooh, my focus is all off. Let's go to manual. There we go. Okay. So this is a simple process. I've got my solder here. You just heat the pad. Pretend a little bit. Put a little dollop on each one. Now the trick here is we want a nice bead of solder, but not so much that it starts to slosh off the side. The idea here, of course, is we're putting enough so that when it comes to tacking down these wires, all I have to do is reflow this. Just briefly attach the soldering iron, and it'll get hot enough to reflow, and I won't actually have to add any more solder beyond what's already on the pads. Just try to keep it neat. Not my best work here, but okay. Probably need a bit more in this first pad and the second pad. This soldering iron's starting to show its age. There we go. Again, not too long, because if you hold it too long, what will happen is you will mess up the LEDs. Ah, gosh, this board's not... I'll trim that later on. So, come on, focus. Camera, there we go. So I've got my 6 pads, 6 blobs of solder. This is ready to go. I'll go and do the second one. I would normally have my music going on right now, but then it would be a copyright violation. And YouTube does not like that. Okay, there we go. Now again, remember, the trick to doing these is you put the heat on the pad, not on the solder. And that gives you a nice, neat blob. Alright, so my pads are done. Now what you need to do is to solder them in. So I'm going to take the first one. And remember, the power can go from either direction. Power is not important here. Only the data is directional. The data is going to go from Arduino to right cup to left cup. So this is the left cup, so I need to use data in here, but I could use either of the power leads. In this particular case, I'm gonna use the one that's closest to the white lead, the data lead as well, to keep them all on the same side. So if you look at this, actually, hold on, this is really bothering me. Let me get rid of this excess piece of PCB. No, where's my knife? There we go. There we go. So on this pad, the bottom ones are in. So that's what I'm going to tack them to. So I'm going to start with the data. Pull you out a little bit. You're too close. There we go. Start out the data in. And again, because I already pre-soldered the pads, I don't have to add any solder. I just reflow what's there. Be careful for your wires twisting up. They have a tendency to twist up when you go through the rat hole. Yeah, so in. And oh, that didn't go. In VCC. There we go. And ground. One of the other things that you should remember is when you apply heat, you need to reflow both the solder that's on the pad and the solder that's on the wires, because you tinge your wires. You want them both to be molten, because then it'll make a much better adhesion than if just one remelts and solidifies around the other one. So that's my in. It gives me voltage into the ring and data into the ring. So what I need to do now is I'm going to run the power lead. So this is the one that's going to connect the battery to power. Remember, power is going to go from the left cup to this ring, through the power wires to the other ring, and then to the Arduino. Same thing, I'm going to run it through the rat hole. Being careful not to tangle up my wires too much. Alright, there we go. Now this is easy, because again, power is, it doesn't matter what direction you push it from, so I could use different pads, but I've only got one ground and one voltage wire, and here I've got one ground and one voltage pad left, so let's go ahead and put those in. Let's start with ground. A little bit of attack. There we go. And voltage. Okay, so now what I'm doing is I'm inspecting my solder joints. They're not great because, well, my angle's off, but they should be good enough. Again, I don't think I can get too close without the focus messing up. Should be enough. I'm just making sure that the connections are firm. Nothing's going to pull loose, because I don't want one of these wires pulling loose inside the goggle cup. That would be bad. I've got white going in, I've got ground on black, and VCC on red. So this is good to go. What I need to do now is I'm going to replace the cup. So I took the glass out. This is one of the black goggles, which you can remove the glass easily. So I've got the glass piece, and then the washer, the gasket, and then the actual welding glass. I'm probably going to try to replace the welding glass with something a little bit lighter. I'll probably go to Tractor Supply sometime next week. Well, actually, no, I'll be in Barcelona next week, so never mind. Alright, so that gives us the glass. And I'm going to pull back these wires a little bit just so they get out of the way. I'm going to insert the ring into the cup where it needs to be. There we go. Alright. And pull back all the slack. And ideally, what we want is we want the wires to be as close to the rat hole as possible. You'll see the rat hole is right there. I've put the solder joints right there so that it gives me the ability to sort of remove all the slack. I don't want that slack inside the cup. And then I also have a 3D printed piece that's going to go here and sort of hold that ring in place so it won't be jiggling around. And hopefully it will also keep the light from backsplashing and blinding me. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that length, again, making sure that this doesn't tangle up. I'm going to pull back the length of silicone wire. And that should be hidden by the 3D frame, no problem. You won't even see that once we're done. But just for giggles, what we're going to do is let's go ahead and power up. Keep these wires apart from each other. And if I see a little bit of a blink on the LEDs, it means everything's working properly. If the battery starts to smoke, it means it's not done properly. There we go. Got a little bit of blink. Not much, just enough. All right. So this is wired properly. Now let's go ahead and do the other cup. The other cup, very much the same. What we're going to do is let's go ahead and reattach our goggles. Nice and simple. I'm actually going to take this off. Makes it a tiny bit easier. There we go. And just gently force it back into place. I need a robot to run my camera while I'm doing these. Normally when I'm filming these segments, it's just me. So I have to stop every few seconds to reposition the camera so you get a fresh angle. We're not going to do that on this. This is just sort of raw, uninterrupted, dorking out. You may hear a lot of noise in the background. I got two 3D printers running right now. I'm testing a new thing for the frame. I decided to try something a little bit different. Come on. Now, hold on. Where's my pliers? When you're doing this, make sure you're not squeezing, crimping the silicone wires. Those 30 gauge wires are a tiny bit delicate, and if you squish them too much, they will either break interiorly or they'll just snap, which we don't want. Come on. This one's a little stiff. Get in there. Oh my goodness. Come on, man. There we go. Flat. I can never find the tools I need when I need them. Because I'm a messy person. You should see my lab right now. Still in the process of moving. Unfortunately, the room's taking a lot longer to get ready. But it means my stuff is everywhere. Come on. There we go. Once you get that first indent in, you can just take a pair of pliers and pull the rest in. And bah. There we go. So that's our bridge. Those are our wires. And as you can see, it hides them quite nicely. Now, if you want to make this a really solid look, once you have this, you can actually shrink this this heat shrink tubing, but I'm not gonna. I kind of like the look. All right, so take these 3 wires, run them through the other rat hole, like so. Trying not to get them all tangled. Oh, that reminds me, I have to pick up some dry ice for the vortex experiments. All right, there we go. So that's got me enough slack that I can pull these in. And this is why I made these 8 inches. 8 inches, I tested a bunch of different lengths. That's the comfortable spot. It's not so much that you're going to have a lot of excess that's difficult to hide with the frame. But 8 inches also means that you have enough to solder properly. So I'm going to go ahead and solder this to the other ring. Now remember, I went data in on this, which means I'm going data out on this side. Again, let's start with the data pin. Make sure we're putting it in the right place. And it's data out. Oh, I lost power. All right, it's going to take a while for that heat up again. Had a bad socket down there. All right, so while that's heating up, let's go ahead and talk about what's going to happen after this. What's going to happen after this is I'm going to take these 3 wires. These are the 6-inch lengths, and it's going to go from the in to the in pads on the ring, and then that will be attached to this. The data pin is going to go to data pin 3 because that's what the code that we used in the last episode. And then I've got voltage and ground going to voltage and ground pins on this. Now, something I will mention that I'm not actually going to show here because it goes into the next episode is when we wire up this is the potentiometer that we're going to be installing in the front of the frame. I need to get voltage and ground to the outside pins, and the inside pin is going to go to an analog port on this Arduino. I'm probably going to push it to analog 7, which is the closest one to the 5 volt pin here. That will allow me to have something on the frame that I can use to change values. My microphone might be a little hot. Let me turn it down. All right, let's see if this is warm enough. Yeah. I kind of like this one because it's got LEDs in the front. It's an inexpensive one. It was a $15 soldering iron. And also, I've got a nice set, but it's kind of unfair for me to use a super nice set if other people have the $15 ones. Okay, so that's my my data. Oop, hold on, I put that on the wrong one. There you go. That's to go out. There we go. Okay, that's my out. And this is voltage. This will go into VCC. Come on. Nice and flat. Okay, and this is ground. All right, nice little tug. Yeah, these are all secure. I don't see any, there's no over solder, so I'm not connecting this to anything that's bad. And now I need to take these 6-inch lengths. They're going to go back through the rat hole as well. And this is why we drill for 6 wires, because that's the maximum amount of wires that we're going to be pushing through the rat hole. And again, trying not to tangle them up too much. Oh, people asked me why I don't just run all the wires at the same time. I like to run them individually in each set because, well, it makes it easier to solder. I know exactly what it is. Those were the out wires. These are now the in wires. I would be comfortable doing this if I had 6 different colors, just to make sure I don't mix them up. But this is a nice, easy way to make sure that I don't solder the wrong things to the wrong pads. We're not dealing with high voltage, but, you know, I still don't want to blow up a LiPo. All right, so this is going to be data in. There we go. And then we have voltage, ground and voltage. Whichever one I grab first. Again, we need to reflow the solder both on the wire and on the pad. But not too much. You don't want to push too much heat into the ring. You'll destroy the ring. Here's my voltage. All right. So, quick check. I got everything I need. Though it's data in, data out, power out, and the 2 grounds. So that's enough to daisy chain over. Let's go ahead and add the glass and the filter back in. All right. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and pull back the slack just like we did on the other one to get it out of the way. Like so. All right. And drop it in. And again, we have a little mounting that's going to help keep it in there once we're done 3D printing everything. All right. So these last 3 wires are going to go to the Arduino. I've got a red, a black, and a white. Red and the black are going to supply power to the Arduino. It's going to go through the daisy chain and give 3.7 volts to the Arduino, which means it needs to go into power, GND, and VIN. That's ground and voltage in, right at the bottom right-hand corner here with the USB port on the left. And then my data pin, I set in my software to be digital 3, which is right, come on, focus, right there. But I could use any digital pin that I want to. So I can reprogram it as long as I remember what it's connected to. Let's go ahead and do our thing. We got voltage to... Actually, you know what I'm going to do? Let's test real quick, make sure that this is not going to smoke. Cool. All right. I don't know if I made these... I don't know if I stripped this long enough. Let's see. I want this to go through voltage in. Right there. Yeah, that should work. I'm going to use my helping hands. If I can find where... Oh, they're there. So... voltage in. Right there. Like so. And then hold it in place. Like so. Be really careful. Don't put too much torque on it. You will destroy the board. Voltage in. Alright. Now this is the same drill as when we did the pads. You want to put the heat on the pad, not on the wire, not on the pin. But be careful here because it would be very, very easy to put too much heat and destroy your board. If I can get, I don't think I can get any closer unless I change the lens. I don't feel like changing the lens. So let's just do this. You know what? For you folks, I'm going to change the lens. So we're going to do some magic. Okay, I found my lens. So let's go ahead and solder this bad boy. By the way, I'm going really slow because I'm I'm actually rewatching Archer right now. Go figure. So heat up the pad, a little tap, a little ticky, boom. It's okay to put your excess on the wire because we're actually going to cut it down. A little too high. It's too much insulation, not enough wire. There you go. All right, ground wire. There we go. By the way, this tip was really damaged in my last transit. Unfortunately, it's the only tip I have. Waiting for a replacement to arrive. Probably tomorrow. There we go. Test those connections real quick. Make sure that they look okay. Make sure I'm happy with what they're doing. Yeah, I got the 3.7 volt, the positive line going into voltage in. I've got the black line going into ground. So all I need now is to get the white line into D3, which I will do right now. Yeah, so let's pull back a tiny bit and there we go. Everything's tight. Everything's tidy. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to take my little pair of snips now. Refocus. Refocus. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the excess. Also, be very careful with what you do with these snips. I have a little can I put them into because you don't want those bridging anything. All right, so I've got my 3 connections. Now, when I apply power, you should see this bad boy power up. Let me clip it someplace where there is no power so it doesn't blow up. There we go. So if I apply, hold on. There you go. See? A little bit of light. So power is going successfully through the ring to the Arduino, which tells me that all those connections are right. There's nothing shorted out, and there's nothing that's cross-connected. Now, in order for me to test the data out, what I have to do is I have to program this. Okay, so we've got the Arduino IDE loaded up. I've got the 100 lines demo connected. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this port on an Arduino Nano. Where is that? Arduino Nano. There's a Nano with an Atmega 328. And make sure I have the correct. Yep. And upload. Okay, and it's compiling the sketch right now. And now it's uploading. And as soon as it's finished uploading, we should start to see lights through. There we go. And that's it, folks. That is the complete steampunk goggle assembly, at least what we did last week. So we're going to be adding a frame and a potentiometer so I can change this as I go without having to use any sort of external app. The other thing is I did pretend the wires, but that was just to make up for the fact that I slow down whenever I have to explain something. So this is like a 30-minute build, and if from start to finish, you can get everything done, including the programming, in about 30 minutes. If you want to see more, make sure to stay tuned to Know How with me and Brian Burnett, the Cranky Hippo, or just stay tabbed here on YouTube, youtube.com/knowhow. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter at twitter.com/PadreSJ. If you have a project you want to suggest, go ahead and write me, and maybe we can work it in. Until next time, I'm Father Robert Ballosair, and good night.